Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. That morning began like any other, with the sun barely lifting itself over the city, and the sound of traffic coming outside a massive luxury truck dealership on the edge of town. Inside the glass-walled showroom, everything shined. Polished floors reflected rows of brand new Mercedes trucks, each one towering, powerful, and impossibly expensive. Salesmen in tailored suits laughed over coffee, talking about commissions and wealthy clients who would be arriving soon in black SUVs. No one expected anything unusual to happen that day. No one expected him. Just before noon, the automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss, and in walked a man who looked completely out of place. His clothes were worn, his coat faded and frayed at the cuffs. His boots were dusty, cracked from years of hard use. His beard was untrimmed, and his hair carried the gray of age and exhaustion. He paused just inside the door, as if unsure whether he was even allowed to be there. Conversations stopped for a second, then quietly resumed, only now with smirks and raised eyebrows. One salesman nudged another and whispered something under his breath. Another rolled his eyes and muttered about security. To them, this man wasn't a potential customer. He was a problem, a distraction, someone who had wandered in from the street. Still, no one immediately asked him to leave. They waited, watching, curious to see what he would do. The man walked slowly, his eyes moving across the lineup of trucks. He didn't touch them at first. He simply looked, carefully, thoughtfully, as if he were studying something far more important than shiny metal. When he finally reached the center of the showroom, he stopped in front of the largest display, where 5 identical Mercedes trucks stood side by side, each one customized, each one worth more than most people's houses. After a long moment, he turned toward the nearest salesman and spoke in a calm, steady voice. He said he was interested in those trucks. All 5 of them. The salesman blinked, then laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a nervous laugh. A loud, dismissive laugh that drew the attention of everyone else in the room. He looked the man up and down again, making sure he hadn't misheard. Then he asked, with clear sarcasm, if the man knew how much even one of those trucks cost. The ragged man nodded. He said yes, he knew exactly how much they cost, and that was why he wanted 5. More laughter followed. Another salesman joined in, shaking his head and joking that maybe the man wanted toy models, not real trucks. Someone else joked about payment plans that involved spare change. A manager glanced over from his office, frowned, but didn't intervene. To them, this was entertainment, a break from routine. But the man didn't get angry. He didn't raise his voice. He simply repeated himself. He said he would take 5 Mercedes trucks. He added that he needed them delivered within the week. That was when the laughter turned sharper. One salesman finally told him that this was a serious dealership, not a charity, and suggested he try somewhere else. Another hinted that security might escort him out if he continued wasting their time. The man listened quietly. Then he reached into the inside pocket of his worn coat. The room went silent, not because they expected anything impressive, but because curiosity finally overpowered mockery. Slowly, he pulled out a small, weathered notebook. Its cover was cracked leather, its pages yellowed with age. He opened it carefully, flipped through a few pages, and then closed it again. He looked up and said something that changed everything. He said he didn't need financing. He didn't need a discount. And he didn't need anyone to believe him. He just needed someone to process the purchase. The salesmen exchanged looks. One of them scoffed and asked how he planned to pay. Cash, cards. The man replied simply that the money was already transferred. He named a bank. Not just any bank, but one of the largest international financial institutions in the world. Then he gave an account reference number. The laughter stopped completely. The salesman's smile faded as he typed the number into his system. Mostly to prove a point, mostly to show his coworkers that this was nonsense. A few seconds passed. Then his face changed. His posture stiffened. He checked the screen again. Then he refreshed it. Then he stood up straight, suddenly aware that the room had gone very quiet. The account balance displayed on his screen was staggering. Not thousands, not millions, hundreds of millions. His hands began to shake as he called the manager over. The manager looked annoyed at first, then confused, then pale. He asked the man to repeat the account reference. The man did, calmly, patiently. Another check confirmed it. The funds were real. The transfer was legitimate. The money was there, waiting. Suddenly, everyone in the showroom stood straighter. The jokes vanished. The whispers stopped. The manager forced a smile and offered the man a seat, a drink, anything he wanted. He apologized for the misunderstanding, blaming it on a busy day and miscommunication. The man accepted a chair but declined the drink. He said he preferred to stand. As paperwork began, one of the younger salesmen, the only one who hadn't laughed earlier, quietly asked the man what he did for a living. The man paused, then said he ran logistics, transportation, infrastructure, the kind of work that required reliable trucks and didn't care how shiny they looked. The manager nodded eagerly, now desperate to impress him. He promised priority service, extended warranties, complimentary upgrades. He assured the man that the dealership was honored by his business. The ragged man listened, then said something that cut deeper than anger ever could. He said he would still buy the trucks, but he would not forget how he was treated when he first walked in. He said he had come here intentionally dressed this way, not as a test, but as a habit. He believed that respect shouldn't depend on appearance. The room felt heavy. Eyes dropped to the floor. The salesman who had laughed now wished they could disappear into the polished tiles beneath their feet. As the final documents were signed, the man asked for one more thing. He asked that the commission for the sale be given entirely to the young salesman who had spoken to him kindly at the end. The manager hesitated, then agreed immediately. The young salesman's eyes filled with tears as he realized what this meant for his life. Before leaving, the man turned back one last time. He didn't scold anyone. He didn't lecture. He simply said that this was not the first time people had laughed at him, and it wouldn't be the last. But every time they did, it reminded him why he built his business the way he did. After he walked out, the showroom felt different. The laughter didn't return. The salesman stood quietly, staring at the trucks they once bragged about selling. They had just witnessed their biggest mistake, not because they almost lost a massive sale, but because they revealed who they were when they thought no one important was watching. And as those 5 Mercedes trucks were delivered days later to a massive industrial yard on the outskirts of the city, each one bearing the company logo of a logistics empire that spanned continents, the lesson lingered in that showroom long after the doors closed. Never judge a man by his clothes, because sometimes, the person you laugh at is the one who decides your future. If this story made you think twice about how we treat others, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today.